There's a town called Fredtown, these books, where
Fredtown?
everybody's named Fred, I think.
That's awesome.
Right? Wasn't everybody named Fred?
I don't know. I never read it.
Maybe a lot of people were named Fred.
Hey everyone, it's Lori and I'm here today with Eva and Charlotte, and we are going to do a library book haul. We went to our regional library and so we have a bunch of books to show you. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to start us off with the nonfiction selection I chose from the library, and that is What Would Cleopatra Do? Life Lessons from 50 of History's Most Extraordinary Women. This is by E. Foley and B. Coates. I know nothing about it. I liked the picture on the cover. Apparently there's 50 lessons. The first one's on Boudica, something from Boudica, so I don't know. Sounded like it would be fun.
I also have one nonfiction book, and it's The Master Guide to Drawing Anime Tips and Tricks by, I think, Christopher Hart, or Drawing with Christopher Hart. I'd assume it's by him too. But I've already read all of it. I'm planning on trying it soon, so.
Okay.
I have no nonfiction books.
Okay, Charlotte's going to get started with her junior fiction books.
First off, I have Henry and Eva by Andrea Ports, and I mostly just checked it out because it had Eva's name in it.
And so is that kind of a historical fiction, or?
I don't think so.
We didn't even read the description.
No.
We solely went on name. That's fine. That happens.
And then I also have Wings of Olympus by Kaylee George. And I mostly just got this because I'm a nut about Greek mythology.
So you're hoping that's the Olympus.
Yes, it is. I read the description. I also read the description on the last one.
Apparently Eva's the only one in the house who reads descriptions. Okay.
First I have The Bridge Home by Padma Venkatraman. It's about, I think, orphans in India, so it sounds interesting to me. Kind of reminds me of,
Boys Without Names?
yes, Boys Without Names.
And then each sister took them.
Next I have Searching for Lottie, which I picked up last time we went to this library because it had Charlotte's name in it, and it was about World War II, so, you know, I love that.
I read all of it, and it was a very good book.
And I never got around to reading it, so I checked it out again. It's by Susan L. Ross. Next I have A Storm of Strawberries by Joe Catterall, and it's about a girl with Down syndrome, and there's a tornado, and they have a strawberry patch, and it sounded interesting.
Disaster strikes. Eva's interested. Okay. Let's move on to fantasy. So I picked up 2 fantasy books. This one I just saw on the shelf and decided I needed to get it. And that is Lost Boy, The True Story of Captain Hook by Christina Henry. And Charlotte's already threatening to steal this from me, but I don't know anything about it other than it's the story of Peter Pan and Captain Hook. And I also picked up the 4th book in the Wheel of Time series. This one is The Shadow Rising by Robert Jordan. Apparently this copy had a hard life at the library, so it's now rebound in this lovely orange shade. Do you have any fantasy?
Oh yeah.
She doesn't remember.
I have one fantasy book, and it is called The Wonderling by Mira Bartok. I honestly could not read the title when I first picked it up at the library because of the script, but it's about a one-eared fox at, I think, an orphanage, and they break out of the orphanage and have adventures.
So the one-eared fox is an orphan at the orphanage?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so
I
it's
think
an
they're
animal orphanage.
Well, I think they're part human, part animal. So they're welcome to the home for wayward and misbegotten creatures.
Okay, well, that's not a plot line I would have come up with.
It sounds awesome.
I love fantasy, particularly fairy tales, so I found quite a lot of fairy tale-esque books. First is The Hazelwood by Melissa Albert, and I basically picked it up because I had seen it reviewed, I believe, on a in a YouTube video. So I thought it sounded interesting, and I decided to read it. And then the rest are very similar. The first is Once Upon a Dream by Liz Braswell, and it's a twisted version of Sleeping Beauty. The next is A Whole New World also by Liz Braswell, and it's a twisted version of Aladdin. I have seen this book before, but I never really got around to picking it up, so. And then third is Mother Knows Best by Serena Valentino. And I love Tangled. I love Mother Gothel. I love the song. So I had to get this one.
Too many books.
The last one that I have is Mirror Mirror by Jen Colonita, and I'm most of the way through. I have really enjoyed it so far.
Yeah, isn't she the author that wrote your fairy tale reform school books?
Yes.
Okay. So apparently we like this author.
Apparently.
Next, for sort of dystopian books, I have 2 in a series. I already read the first one, and I don't remember what the series is called anymore. Children of Exile. It's by Margaret Peterson Haddix, and we do love that author, although sometimes her books are a little weird and sometimes kind of preachy, but they are good. It's Children of Refuge is the second book in the series, and Children of Jubilee is the third book in the series. So,
Is that the complete series now?
I think so. I'd assume
I
so
would
from this
assume
picture,
so from
but I'm
the
not
Jubilee
positive.
thing.
Well,
Yeah,
true. Okay.
it's all sunny now.
I
So
thought it was a fair question. Okay, so the apocalypse is over. Everything's good.
yeah,
So I like dystopian novels as well, and I found The Scorpion Rules by Erin Bow. And I don't know very much about this book, but from the description, it looked like it's kind of a royal version of the Hunger Games. So that got me interested. And the other book that I got is the second book in the series, The Swan Riders. So I'm excited to read those.
Next up, let's do some science fiction, because I got one. So I picked up Xenocide by Orson Scott Card. This is the third book in the Ender's Game series. So there's Ender's Game, Speaker of the Dead, Xenocide, and then Children of the Mind, maybe? But I bought book 4 at a thrift store recently, but I had never read book 3, so I picked that up at the library.
This is called Once and Future, and it's by Amy Rose Capetta and Corey McCarthy. I wasn't sure what to classify it as because it's basically a female King Arthur in the future. So, was it sci-fi or was it fairy tale-ish? But it looks interesting.
I'm not so sure on that one.
me neither. I've seen some things about that before.
Yeah, so we'll just have to, I'll look at some reviews before you read it.
Okay.
I guess my next thing is I got one YA kind of contemporary book, I think. Not really something I read a lot of. But I got On the Come Up by Angie Thomas. And so the book that Angie Thomas is famous for is called The Hate You Give, and I have zero interest in that. But this one is more intriguing to me because it is about a girl who wants to become a rapper. So I think there's a lot of like rap poetry type stuff in here. So I don't know. I'm not into a love story, but maybe rap is my thing. We'll go with I'm eclectic.
We've tried to get her to listen to Hamilton music.
I have
but
listened to Hamilton.
It never works. Like, I don't
like
understand your
songs.
underappreciation of the songs.
I'm too old. I'm old and boring. And your dad makes me listen to other weird rap music, so.
So the next category is classics, and these are sort of classics. The stories are. But recently I've been reading some manga classics, so Mom chose Macbeth for me this time because I really haven't read Shakespeare, and it makes Charlotte mad, and we figured maybe I could read Shakespeare if it was in manga format.
Is this where we tell the sad thing about Charlotte confusing her Shakespeare place?
I was all up in arms about the purple-haired lady on the cover because I was like, Ophelia can't have purple hair. And then when we got home, I was like, oh, Ophelia's in Hamlet.
So is that Lady Macbeth?
I don't think so.
That's literally the only character in Macbeth I know other than Macbeth is Lady Macbeth. Because I'm
guessing it's not one of the witches.
I'm a deficient Shakespeare mother.
Indeed you are.
Okay.
I also picked up The Jungle Book because we listened to it as an audiobook, and I wasn't that impressed. I haven't really liked the movie The Jungle Book that much either. Both of them are kind of boring for me. But I figured maybe I'd like it more this way. It has a giant snake and a giant tiger.
Do you really
and
not remember the snake?
No, I remember the snake. It just looks cooler here.
Oh,
and there's an elephant. And like a camel and a horsey. So
if it has a horsey, we're almost 15 years old and we call them horsies.
Hang out with 5-year-olds, okay?
So I actually have a classic. It is The Inheritance by Louisa May Alcott. And I have read this book before. I really love it. And it's the book that Jo March, her main character in Little Women, supposedly wrote. So I find that really cool that she wanted to bring to life something that her character did.
Okay, and so to wrap it up, the last 3 books I got are all adult fiction. They all, on Goodreads, also are kind of listed as historical fiction, so apparently I was in a historical fiction-y sort of mood. The first one is Middle Sea by William H. Gass, and I didn't really read a whole lot about it, but apparently it's very poetic, and I kind of like really poetic books. And it's got a piano key on it, so that was enough for me to... Oh, and the side. That's why I picked it up.
Oh, that's cool.
If you have a good spine, I'm more likely to pick you up at the library. And then I have Strangers in Budapest, and this is by Jessica Keener. And it's a story of a couple that kind of get involved in a vendetta feud sort of thing. I'm not really sure, but it looked interesting, and another thing that was said on this was that the writing style was just very beautiful. So, I don't know. It had a good spine. And then the last one is one that I have checked out before, and I didn't get around to reading, and somebody put a hold on it, so I wasn't able to renew it. And then I had to mail it back to the library because I asked Charlotte to do one thing, and that was put this book in the bag to return to the library, and she managed to forget it. So that is Unsheltered by Barbara Kingsolver. Barbara Kingsolver is an author that I just enjoy reading, so I basically picked it up because it was by her for a second time. So those are our library books for right now. And we'll see how many of them we actually get to, because we always tend to check out more books than we actually have time to read. But if you've read any of these books or have suggestions for which ones we should definitely get to, please let us know in the comments. Otherwise, we will see you next time. Thanks.